What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. We're going to be talking about the Atlas, my league starter, the early game, and the end game tree. Let's go ahead and get straight to the point. Let's talk about what I'm going to be starting. I'm going to be playing Lightning Arrow Magic Find. You will understand why I will be playing Lightning Arrow Magic Find in my in-game tree. T-Shot, as you guys know, got nerfed heavily. I am deciding not to go Tornado Shot. With high investment, I can do Tornado Shot, but in this case, I really don't want to go through the trouble and the time. So I'm just going to play Lightning Arrow and get a Mirror Bow and a Mirror Quiver for that build. Really spec into a bunch of quant, a bunch of rarity. You know, just like how I usually do with Tornado Shot, but instead with Lightning Arrow. Let's talk about the early game tree. As you guys can see from my tree, we have Essences, the League Mechanic, and then we also have Scarabs and Kirak. My plan for this tree is specifically to get the early maps done. Is to quickly do the maps, speed run them, and be done with the early game as quick as possible. That being said, as you guys can see, I am spec'd into Kirak missions, which is what's going to be the reset for a lot of the maps, because we do lose a lot of duplication map nodes, which is a ton of maps that we are losing, but it is fine because we can still go into Kirak and we can still get Shaping the Skies, get Shaping the Mountains, and still also get Shaping the World. And these are pretty much mandatory yet now because you really need to get these extra maps in the maps that you don't have completed. And then we also spec into Essences in the League Mechanic so we can craft our gear. Crafting the gear is going to be crucial. You really need to spec into Essences and spec into the League Mechanic so you can start your early crafting. Usually, if it wasn't the League Mechanic, we'd be going Harvest, but in this case, we have the League Mechanic, and the League Mechanic, in my opinion, will be very strong for crafting. And a lot of people I know may not think that, but in my opinion, I personally think that it's going to be very strong. That being said, this is the early game tree. Before I leave off on a note, you can get cartography explorative carapaces to get cartography scarabs. These will be very nice if you can just throw them into your your map device and just get some maps also while using the scarab. That is an option and you can do that. And now let's move on to the in-game tree. In terms of this tree, we are going full Magic Find and juicing up the League Mechanic. Let me go ahead and say this. You do not need to be in T16 to do this Atlas. This will be a very tough Atlas. Very hard. So you do not need to be in T16s. I repeat again, you do not need to be in T16s. You can do this in T7s, T8s, T9s, whatever map you may choose in lower tier. Now, I don't recommend white maps. I only recommend yellow and reds. We're going full increased effect nodes, scarabs, and also the League Mechanic. Now, the reason why we're doing this is because it's back to the basics. We cannot have any League Mechanics whatsoever. Abyss, Beyond, Blight, Breaches, Expedition, Harbinger, Legion, Mirror Delirium, Layers of Delirium, Essences, Ritual Altars, Rogue Exiles, the Sacred Grove, Shrines, Smuggler's Catches, Strong Boxes, Tormented Spirits, Ultimatum, Alva, Ironheart, Jun, Nico. We can't have any of those on the map whatsoever. This specific tree has no mechanics on it whatsoever. If you are looking for a tree that has a Legion or anything on it, this is not the tree. You might as well move on to a different tree. This tree is more for juicing up the League Mechanic as much as possible, creating it to be the most juiciest League Mechanic you could possibly do. Back to the basics, do not actually take off the League Mechanic because the League Mechanic is forced, which is really nice to have that because in this case, we'll be able to juice it up as much as we want to. That being said, we go ahead and grab a bunch of scarab nodes all over the tree, to really take the places of League Mechanics so we can get those extra, 3% increased scarabs found in your maps. And that is just huge, absolutely huge, because we pretty much can sustain our own scarabs. Hopefully, with scarab wise, we'll only be using things like reliquary and divination because once again, we can't have League Mechanics. So we will be stacking divination scarabs, and we'll be stacking reliquary scarabs. So you can do like winged reliquary, gilded reliquary, or you can do stuff like winged div and gilded divination, which all up to you, your choice in terms of that. You can also do cartography scarab, winged divination, gilded reliquary, and winged reliquary. You can do it that way. You can do it however way you may please, but one thing we really need is to have reliquary and div. Other than that, you can totally see on this tree that we do grab so many increased effective modifiers on the map, which is going to make the maps so much harder, but so much quantity and rarity. It's going to be amazing, absolutely amazing. And then this node right here, invasive adversaries. Your maps contain 10% more monster packs consisting of difficult and rewarding monsters, which means now we gain 10% more monster packs, which is just huge once again. This is going to be our in-game tree. We'll be doing a bunch of testing. We got our Zero to Heroes coming. If you're not Magic Find, I don't recommend this tree because you really don't need that many increased effect nodes and things like that, and you should be doing something a bit more on the lines of something like Legion or Expedition or BIS. This tree is specifically for Magic Find only, in my opinion. That being said, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, subscribe. Catch you guys in the next video.